talking about the tales that never tire. Ghosts and ghouls up in the trees, whispering secrets on the breeze. Down in the holler where shadows hide, lights flicker where the spirits glide. They swear they saw Jim, now gone, walking around with his boots still on. Unseen things in the Appalachian night, haunted fields where the moon don't lie. Cryptids howl and the stories flow. Gin and cocoa, they surely know.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Appalachian Ghost Girls podcast, your favorite podcast where things go bump in the night and go chasing after them with flashlights, snacks, and questionable decision making.
And questionable pants. I ripped mine on a tombstone last week, you guys. Don't ask me how.
You gotta stop dry humping the tombstones all the time.
Actually, I was twerking.
But that's iconic. So tonight we have Tina, the tour guide. If you've ever been to the West Virginia Penitentiary, she might have been your tour guide. That's how I met her. She knows her shit. It's a place with over a century of violence, death, and straight up dark energy, I would say. I wouldn't say evil, but some of it is. It's soaked into those walls. Bad place. But a lot of fun for us.
Lots of fun. She's going to tell us some tales, some spooky stories that she's had over the years. And she's a brave soul for being there and seeing
Either
all
brave
these
or
ghosts.
stupid.
Yeah. Who's somebody who's willingly spent more time in solitary confinement than Red Snyder himself. So welcome, Tina.
That's actually true.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies, for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we're happy you're here.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am Tina, the tour guide, and I worked at the West Virginia Penitentiary for about 5 years, giving historical and paranormal tours, having overnight investigations, the whole kit and caboodle. I've learned a lot from there. My deep love of history has now led me to the Marshall County History Museum, where they just let me have a whole museum. I don't know whose idea that was, but they let me do it, so I'm here. And so now I'm still continuing to expand my prison knowledge, my paranormal knowledge, and just overall history of the area.
So how did you end up guiding ghost tours in one of the most notoriously haunted prisons in the country?
So my younger sister actually still currently works there, and she's been there for enough years that it made me have to do the math, over 10. And they had an opening, so she's like, you should really go try out for tour guide. And I said to her the same thing every new tour guide says to me. Oh, I don't know if I can remember all those dates and everything. And my sister's like, I know you well enough. You'll have plenty to say. And turns out she was right. So I just kind of like basically bugged them until they put me on the payroll, and it worked.
That's what you got to do sometimes.
Right?
Yeah. So did you like believe in ghosts and the paranormal and everything before you started, or is that something that kind of came on once you started the prison work?
Now, from my childhood, I knew that I definitely had at least a few experiences that still made me question what I knew to be reality. So I've always believed that the paranormal was absolutely a possibility. but I was very on the fence. I was very much a skeptic until I started working there, because enough will happen that out of thousands of experiences, one of them has to be unexplainable.
Yeah.
And I've tried my best to go through. I know every noise in that building, every raccoon that goes through. I know it all, but there's some things I just can't explain.
So what would you say is the creepiest thing that happened personally to you?
I've definitely got a few good ones. I'll start with the mimic. That's what I like to say. So there is something that hangs out around the south side, more towards the gift shop area, and it really seems to like to mimic employee voices.
Okay.
Now, I first ran into this during COVID. We started doing virtual tours where you could still see the prison, ask questions to the tour guide, but from the comfort of your home. So we're going in to set up for the very first one. I'm the first one in the building, or so I thought. And so I come in, I unlock the door and everything. And I hear my boss, who has a very distinct voice. And he calls my name from the break room. He just says, "Hey, Tina." So I yell back. My lazy self doesn't want to walk back there. And I'm like, "What?" Like a child, And I don't hear anything. Well, he is an older gentleman. I thought maybe he just had a hard time hearing me. So I yelled a little bit louder, more dramatically, like, "What?" No response. So I walk back towards the break room and nobody's there. I come back out to the gift shop and watched his truck pull up in the parking lot. He was
Wow.
never in the building. Now, a week later after that, I had another tour guide, good friend of mine named Garrett, and he was on tour and he called me and he said, "Hey, you want to hurry up?" He didn't say hello, "Hey, hi, how you doing?" He just said, "You want to hurry up?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "I really need in solitary." I'm like, "So go on in, man." And he's like, "But my group's right outside the door and I can hear you giving your tour. I need you to hurry up. I'm already running late." I said, "I'm going to need you to look at the schedule, my friend, because I am not on the property today."
Wow.
And since then, it's been
my
countless
God.
amounts of times. The manager hearing different workers, different tour guides, hearing the gift shop. Maintenance will hear people calling them in to fix stuff and nobody's in the room. It's pretty consistent. Now, that is more firsthand. Another one that really stands out to me really had to do with customers who kind of just really didn't know any better, didn't really know the situation that played out as I saw it from my perspective. So it is an overnight investigation, but it is a public. So these are different groups of people that have not come with each other. There's one family here, group of friends here, but they don't know each other. So after the tour, we let them investigate on their own. I'm back in the gift shop. I have a group of teenagers come in. They said, just out of curiosity, what's the construction about out in the South Yard? And I said, "Oh, the South Yard, man, that could be the Department of Corrections. That could be the haunted house that they're building for. Your guess is as good as mine. I haven't really been back out there yet." And they were like, "Oh, okay, cool, just curious." They walk off. About 15 minutes later, another set of people come in. They said, "Man, we were really wanting to go investigate the chapel in the South Yard, but it seems like there's really a lot of people out there." And I'm thinking, well, there's only 24 people signed into the entire building and 6 of them are standing in the gift shop. So yeah, I guess it's not a private event. You do have to kind of get used to those publics and share your spaces. And so then they take off. Another group comes in and they said, "Man, what are all those people doing in the South Yard?" And I'm like, I don't know. I've been hearing about them. I'll have to go take a look. They said, "Yeah, it looks like they're digging something." I said, "Well, that's definitely not our work crew." So I go out, I search high and low. I can't find anything. So I'm like, that's kind of strange. I come back in. Another set of older ladies, they come in, usually pretty no nonsense from that type of generation. And they come in and they tell me about the gentleman doing all the work in the yards. And I'm like, "What were they doing?" And she said, "They were out there digging holes." And I'm so confused at this point because what every single one of those groups did not know, because I didn't tell them, is that the South Yard is the original cemetery where they buried bodies before they
Oh,
actually
shit.
purchased Whitegate Cemetery. But I don't bring that up on the tour, so none of those people had any idea. Sure, there's details you could Google, but that's not really one of them.
Wow.
That gave me
Yeah.
chills. I'm like shivering over here. That's a big nope. I don't know. Tina, you're brave, girl. I don't know if I could stay working there. I'd have to like send in my letter of resignation. Like
I
be
will
like, I'm
say at the
out.
beginning, it's very nerve wracking when you're constantly hearing like cell doors slamming and such. But because I'm so intrigued by the paranormal, I find myself terrified yet running towards it. And that's the best way I can describe it. I'm still terrified the whole time. Everybody says, "Oh, you're so brave." No, I'm not. I'm just curious.
You're scared but
Honestly.
still want to know what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
That's kind of how I am when we're at investigations in different places.
so in the prison, like what area would you say gives you like the worst vibes? Like you just feel like whenever you walk into it. Is there any spot in particular?
It is the kitchen prep area in the cafeteria.
Okay.
Now, that cafeteria wasn't built until the 1986 riot. That was the product of what the inmates got out of that battle. But so it is like kind of late in the prison's history. It was only used from about 87 till it shut down in 95. There's no reported murders in there, though there were plenty of physical violence and attacks and fights, sure, but nothing major that went on. Yet that is one area that almost every single staff member just refuses to go in there. And the greatest part is that's where the breakers are for the lights. So if you've ever gone on a history tour and it's dark in the cafeteria, that's why, because your tour guide is too scared to go into the kitchen.
Wasn't there a story
That's funny.
like was there something that happened in the kitchen with like a pot?
So there's a couple of rumors that go around about the prison, and the chili pot incident is one of the most famous. It's a rumor that got circulated from an older paranormal show that aired when, paranormal was still pretty new for television. And basically the story went that one of the inmates was...
Well, she cut out.
So when people tell me this story, I walk them into the cafeteria and I said, now I've just showed you this building and really how cheap the state of West Virginia could be. Show me the surface where you could put a chili pot the size of a man. They would have been lucky to have man chili for lunch that day.
Yeah.
So although it's a really cool story, we have no paperwork that justifies it.
Okay. All right. So you heard that here, folks. That's more likely debunked. I always wonder.
Now, another cafeteria story, quite a taboo one, was this one was true. I learned it from the officer who caught the individual. They did have to cancel Thanksgiving dinner one day because they found the inmates making some friends with the turkeys.
Oh.
Now, that's a true one.
I'm not surprised.
So if the chili pot incident was true, we would absolutely tell you.
It gets lonely.
Wait, what were they doing with the turkeys?
They're exactly what you think they were. They were preparing the stuffing.
they were stuffing the turkey.
Yeah.
Literally.
Oh, those
They
poor
had to throw out over
turkeys.
250 frozen turkeys because they didn't know which ones were contaminated, and it almost caused a riot.
God.
But had they fed the inmates, it definitely would have caused a riot. So still the right call, in my opinion.
So, sorry, I'm like
Inmate gravy.
I'm thinking of that scene from American Pie with the pie.
Oh God!
Now, we won't tell the warden about this. We'll just tell him we ate all the turkeys.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
There's that famous photo, the shadow figure. Have you ever?
Now, that's a good one.
Have you ever come in contact with the shadow figure?
Now, that figure, that photo specifically, the most infamous one, that was captured in 2004 by Polly Gear. She's a wonderful lady. She's a great artist, so look up her artwork. I actually had her paint the Shadow Man photo for me. It's like my prized possession.
Awesome.
Now,
That's cool.
that figure measuring up to the door, the cafeteria door where it says the word cafeteria, it's estimated to be just over 7 feet tall. Now, what's interesting about that is the Adena burial mound directly across the street, the Grave Creek mound. The individuals that were found inside of that mound were said to be very tall individuals. So
Yeah.
some people believe it could be the Adena. Some people believe it, of course, it could be an inmate, a staff member, but it seems as though there seems to be only one shadow that is that particularly tall. We get lots of shadow figures, but the one hanging around the cafeteria, he's the tall guy that seems to like his picture taken quite often. So I always tell people snap photos in the cafeteria. A lot of photos from North Hall, too, right around Red Cell, which could be debatably Red Snyder himself, but as well, the hallway that's right next to his cell actually used to be a cell itself, and an individual was burned alive inside of that cell.
Oh, wow.
So your guess is as good as mine, but lots of shadows like to hang out.
Wow.
So you've seen the shadow figure in the kitchen.
Oh, plenty of times. Yeah, plenty of times. There's one that likes
Is
to
he
hang
hot?
out around the chapel as well.
Oh, wow. There's just everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
So we talked about Red Snyder for a second, but let's circle back to Red, because last time I investigated, I spent quite a bit of time by myself in his cell. Never felt uncomfortable. I felt like outside of the cell, I was a little bit uncomfortable, but never uncomfortable. Listen to me. I played Waylon Jennings. I played all kinds of music in there for him. Did you ever have an encounter with him?
Plenty of times, but I will say it's usually secondhand encounters, probably for the same reason as you. Red doesn't really pick on the pretty women. He doesn't mind them in his cell so much, it turns out. So, yeah, that's a lot of younger women, it seems as though, don't get a lot of action. What is interesting is taking other individuals in that area. I once had a lady, as I'm telling all the stories, the spooky happenings of Red Snyder, she steps into a cell and she kind of stands there for a minute, and we all watch scratches start forming down her. And she said, well, I didn't think anything would happen. And I'm like, well, I mean, I just told you how scary it was and all the happenings that happened in the cell. And she said, well, you did mention that he was the leader of the Aryan Brotherhood. I should probably mention I'm Jewish.
Oh, my.
Yeah, man, that'll do it. That'll do it.
Yeah.
So it seems though he does like to pick and choose his victims, so to say. If you're good to Red, he's good to you, but he doesn't get along with everybody.
Wow.
Particular.
Yeah. But like I said, I've always had not too much, like when I've done Spirit Box, not a ton coming through, but I just felt I was okay. I was okay in there. Like he got me. We were cool because I was like, I'm cool. I don't know, I know he did bad stuff. I know he was a bad guy, but like, I don't know. And then I heard the story.
He was a scary dude, but he was very much a protector. He was the guy that you went to if you needed help. So
Right.
kind of still makes sense with certain people he just likes to watch out for.
And there was that, the one tour guide that used to be what was her name?
A correctional officer?
Yes. There was
That's my buddy Lee.
Like I think she had mentioned about like she was doing, that was after the prison.
Oh, that's Maggie. Yeah, Maggie Gray.
Okay. Yeah, after the prison was closed, she was the tour guide and she was walking through, and this is after Red Snyder was dead. And like he said, I guess whenever he was alive, he always said morning, like morning Maggie, and she said morning Red. So she walks past the cell, prison is not open anymore, so everybody knows, and walks past the cell, and he said morning Maggie, and she said morning Red, and then she just stopped in her tracks because she's like, oh, wait a minute, because it was just like muscle memory that she said that, and she's like, oh
right.
Yeah, that's he's
that's
not alive.
creepy.
Yeah, and
He's
he
still
was
there,
known to
though.
have a particular raspy smoker's voice.
Okay.
So we do kind of catch that sometimes on EVPs or recordings, and he does have a particular sound, and Maggie, knowing him in real life, would be able to recognize his voice.
Yeah.
She had a hard time going to North Hall after that, I'll tell you that.
Well, there's always a chance too that it could have been a mimic, but I think enough's happened.
Yeah.
Enough's happened though with Red there that I feel like he's probably still hanging out there, but I don't know for sure. was there ever a place you refused to go alone?
Now, I don't care for solitary confinement alone, not so much for like the dark, scary basement, but because that is where you'll get like a lot of ankle grabs and there's bats down there. But activity wise, it's got to be the infirmary because that sometimes will just be so active that I don't know anybody who it doesn't make uncomfortable. So it's definitely intriguing and interesting, but very much you're not welcome here. I'm more powerful than you type of vibe upstairs for sure.
So I was upstairs, not the last time, but the time before. And I remember like April that was on my old team and some other people were up there. And April was she was in the solitary confinement area. Was it the solitary? Is that upstairs, right?
There's 2 psych cells upstairs. Yeah.
Was it like a chamber or something like that up there? Like,
yeah, it's like basically sensory deprivation.
Yeah. So she was up there trying to do the Gansfield, and then like just stuff was going on, and our friend Karma, she was on here, I don't think she's watching right now, but she's spot on. Karma's spot on with stuff, and she's often comes onto our lives whenever we would do investigations. And there was a man who was more of like in the psych area, and he was kind of like around all of us ladies, and he wanted me to sit alone in there. And then she's like, let him know he can touch you. And I remember like, it felt like electricity was on my neck. And I'm like, all right, just as long as he touches me nicely. But then I guess he ended up following us like the whole night because he wanted to protect us. Like he was trying to like make sure we were okay. So I was like, aw, he's crazy, but
he's crazy, but he's kind. Yeah. Yeah.
My favorite story from the infirmary, one of my favorite experiences, my sister actually has an overnight investigation there every year. So, of course, there I am just walking through telling everybody stories and not being able to shut up while people are trying to record. So I'm walking up into the infirmary, and infamously, I'm just telling a story, not paying attention. And I walk into one of the open wards, and my spirit box says, "Look out." And I said, "For what?" And it said, "Knife." And then I hear my brother-in-law start laughing from the corner. He said, "They snitched on me." And he shows me the pocket knife in his hand that he was just showing to his friend beside him, right? So then the very next year, we go back to that same investigation. We're retelling the story, and my spirit box goes, "Dennis." And that is his name. So it seemed as though they remembered him.
Wow.
But it was kind of like
crazy.
Almost like what you said. There's somebody out there that's trying to look out for you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, that's funny.
Did you ever feel that like different seasons or like a full moon or something like made things more active? Like people will say, "Oh, it's a full moon out, so like things are getting wild."
There was one story that comes to mind in particular. It was an overnight investigation, and it was me and my own nephew that were closing down the building. And so we got to do a whole walk through the path, lock all the doors, make sure everybody's out. So no customers or anybody else in the building at the time, just me and him. We're walking down the hallway, and he makes a comment about how eerily quiet it is. And then I start to notice it too. Now, all of a sudden, I yell because something reached into my pocket and throws my stuff down the hallway. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So now we're a little bit on edge, as you can imagine. We are quickly making our way back to the gift shop. But out of curiosity, because it's been so quiet, we're like, we've got to go upstairs to the infirmary because it's always noisy upstairs.
Yeah.
You could hear a pin drop. And we're like, there's got to be something going on. That's crazy. We get back to the gift shop, and just as my nephew's shutting the door, a shadow figure right on that red line outside that gift shop door. And the sheer panic in his face told me that he had just seen something. Wow. So now we're all about it. Now what's going on? Who died today? We look it up. It has just turned November 16th, the anniversary of Red Snyder's murder.
Oh, damn.
Wow.
Like, oh yeah, maybe that'll do it.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever had a?
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. Okay, No, you go. Have you ever had like a tour guest completely lose it, like get so freaked out that they like ran away screaming?
So many times. So many times. And I really do actively try to make people comfortable, especially if it's not like a private investigation. If it's a group of people, they're all from different places. Some people are really into paranormal, some people are not. So I really try to be very careful to make sure everybody's comfortable. But we've had people walk in the gift shop, not even purchase a ticket and go, yeah, nope, and leave. We've
Oh, wow.
had people that will refuse to go on tour unless the tour guide promises that they will not leave them or abandon them. Like they say, you're going to be with us the whole time, right? You have a flashlight, right? You know where you're going, right?
You
We have
promise, right?
a lot of people that will get part of the way through the tour and become incredibly ill or physically ill and have to leave the property for them to be able to feel better. We get a lot of
Wow.
people that will not really want to explain why they just want to leave immediately, usually just kind of assuming that either they've been startled by something and are no longer comfortable. But it's almost a daily occurrence that
Yeah.
somebody doesn't want to be on the property anymore. And it's usually, honestly, the daytime, like middle of sunshine tours are where people become the most uncomfortable. Usually the
Huh.
paranormal overnighters, they're prepared for the dark. That's what they've been waiting for. But it's usually,
Yeah.
somebody that just came in with their family and, it's one of the people that call themselves a skeptic and they don't really believe in that. And then all of a sudden they want to know how many more minutes until the tour's over. Do we go back to the gift shop or do we, so
Uncle Tom's ready to run.
yeah. Sometimes they'll admit it, sometimes they won't. But
All right,
That's
Coco,
so
you wanted
funny.
to ask the next question?
What's the wildest thing like somebody has ever done on a tour?
I got to be careful wording this. There's definitely been some evidence of people making their own type of conjugal visits in prison.
Oh my.
That's always interesting. Thankfully, it's never been a scenario where like we walked in. It's just usually you find the evidence later. It is also a tourist destination, so a lot of people will like to bring gifts for the spirits and leave them around, which, for Red, it's often a harmonica, the instrument he was known to play. For Danny Lehman, it's art supplies because he was a fantastic artist. For the infirmary, it's medication. And we're like, we can't just leave that sit there. So it's always something new. I've pulled so many metal nail files out of that place. We get a lot of our master locks stolen because people think it'd be cool to have a prison lock. And we're like, we literally just bought that from Ace Hardware. We get lots of kids that come through. Kids always have the best questions, so that's always the fun tours. I had a little girl ask me if the shadow man hung out around the cafeteria because he's so tall and he can't get into the tiny 5 by 7 foot cells. I sat there and thought about it for a minute. And I'm like, you know what? She might have a valid point. I never thought about it that way. So
Yeah, no, you got
always a good time in prison.
Yes.
Huh.
So we're gonna do, because we only got a few minutes left, the fast and freaky round.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So Tina, time for a quick fire round. Just shout out the first thing that comes to mind.
This is dangerous.
All right. Okay. What is the scariest room in the pen?
The cafeteria kitchen.
Okay. Worst tour guest?
Oh, I don't want to call him out. It's a famous YouTuber with 4 letters attached to their name.
I don't
I
even
can
know.
think of one.
It was TFIL.
Oh. Who is that? Wait.
I feel like once you look them up, you'll know them by.
All right. I will.
face.
I might. Maybe I'll ask you when the thing's off. I don't want you to call me.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
One guest you'd never want to meet, or one ghost. I'm sorry, one ghost you'd never want to meet again.
Oh, it might be that shadow figure that lurks behind the chapel. It just gives off bad vibes.
One place in the pen you'd sleep if you had to.
Oh, Wait, where I would or where I have? Gift shop full sleepy spot. There's some comfy pillows upstairs in the escape room. The cell block doesn't do it for me. No mattress.
No Sugar Shack?
Mm.
Probably. I mean, I might have dozed off a time or two, but not usually.
What's the worst smell you ever smelled while taking a tour? Giving a tour.
Unfortunately, animals that have passed. Whether we can find them or not, but the smell pops up occasionally.
Yeah.
You know what was crazy was when I was there, it wasn't a bad smell, but like right over, I don't know all the parts of the prison, but when you're going towards like where Red's cell is, like before you get into that area, it smelled like sweet cigars, like a Swisher.
Oh, yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, it was so strong. And I asked people, you smell that, right? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay. I'm like, I didn't know if I was tripping or something because it's so strong.
That was one thing you could pay Red to give you protection was tobacco.
Nice. All right. So, Tina, you are a haunted treasure. Thank you for walking us through the prison gates and back.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Is there anywhere you want anybody to follow you or anything you want to shout out?
Definitely come down and check out the Marshall County History Museum. We've got a whole prison display.
Closer to your...
Yeah, hold it closer. Oh, you're there.
You're there.
I am there.
Nice.
Cooler background here.
Yeah.
Got a huge prison display that I take much pride in. So come on down, check it out. We've always got events going on. So you can become a member of the Historical Society and help us take care of the museum. We're always looking for volunteers. So come on down and play with prison stuff with me.
And a little fact, a little tidbit is that Tina, as many of you know me, you know that there was my good friend that I was in my old team with, Phil K. This is his lovely girlfriend. So, and he just commented and said, the guest is a hottie.
We love you guys.
Such a lover boy. All right, so make sure to follow what Tina just said. Go visit her. She's still giving amazing tours, and she knows a lot of shit. So do that.
Oh, yeah.
And then be sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all that. We hope to visit the pen again soon. We hope to see you again soon. We'll have to come down to where you're at now.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Come pay a visit. And until next time, keep your EMF reader charged, your sage burning, and your third eye cracked open. Just a little.
Your whispering eye.
Your whispering eye. That sounds kind of dirty.
So this has been the Appalachian Ghost Girls, where the dead don't stay quiet, and neither do we.
Nope.
Bye for now.
Not at all. Thanks, Tina.
Thank you, guys.
Tina.
Bye.
Jen and Coco sit by the fire, talking about the tales that never tire. Ghosts and ghouls up in the trees, whispering secrets on the breeze. Down in the holler where shadows hide, lights flicker where the spirits glide. It's where they saw Jim, now gone, walking around with his boots still on.